Continuing with number 2 development, if I look at my number 1 development, it's very similar. So I'm going to just modify my first development to work for my number 2. The top view appears exactly the same. The difference is in the front view, we need to come up 1 inch, and we need to go ahead and create an angled line there. Also appears to be snapping to a 45, which would make sense because this is an inch and a half up more. Inch and a half that way gives me my 45. I can take those lines out. Now as I bring that over into my development, remember first of all that when we created this development, we started at this corner right here. So our first panel, we worked counterclockwise around it. Our first panel was this front view. Notice that our front view has now changed. So what I could do is I could go ahead and copy this line over here, which means that our tab's going to change. There's several things that change, so I'm going to select all of that and delete it out. Now that looks a little strange if we have a front view that looks like that, and then we have this really tall tab here. If we look up at our top view, we can see that this is our next section. If we look down at our front view, we can see that the height of that next section is right here, which if I projected on across would line up with that endpoint that we already had, which means that that next panel should be that height. I could go ahead and trim this out here. I could just go ahead and get rid of that tab for now. I can always create it in later. If I think about my next panel, it goes from here to here. So if I'm looking at that down here, it starts at this height, which I've already got there, and goes to this height, which I've already got up here. So I could go ahead and create that line going in there. Notice that I'm getting rid of my top view right there, which I'll have to fix in just a little bit. I'm going to draw that line back in there. So I still have my bottom. My bottom is the same for this object. I've modified my pattern, and it would depend where you started as far as your first point, as far as what this view looked like. I've modified my pattern so that it would fold to create this shape. I've gone ahead and removed a few tabs, so I've still got to figure out what I'm doing up here. But I also need to figure out my top. And I'll get a lot of students that try to go ahead and once again copy this top view and place it in their object. So they'll go, okay, it doesn't fit there, so I need to rotate it. And they'll rotate it like that. And then they'll go ahead and move it down into this location here. The problem is that this length here does not match this side length right here. So what we actually need to do for that top is create more of an auxiliary, which is what we just learned about. So we could create an auxiliary in here, but we want it attached. Real basic, the depth of this is 1 inch. This is the width or the length along the side, the width of that top plate. So I could just offset 1 inch and close it in. And that would be my top piece. This edge would fold down and touch right here. This edge would then fold and touch right here. And this one would wrap around on the back and touch right there. So I've already got tab there. I probably need to tab both of these places. Alternately, I could put the tabs this location and this location. So if I'm going to offset my 0.25 and put my tab there and there, I'm going to do this one first because that's the easiest for me to get my 45 on. We use 45s just to make it easy. We wouldn't necessarily have to use a 45 here. If we wanted to, that's going to be just a vertical for us and a horizontal. And just like that, we have once again created our development for number 2. I'd be able to take this line off. I could put in my bend circles if my instructor requested that. And I could once again go into my title block, print it off, and go ahead and cut and fold it if I wanted to.